line.
That's right. That's the way it's supposed to be.
That's the way I got it.
That's a different one.
Oh. Okay. That's what I'll do then.
Yeah.
I got you.
I am reminding everybody to bring their county dollars. I'll take my
Okay, y'all, it's 2 minutes after, and I'm sorry we're starting late, but I had to get some language fixed on one of these resolutions.
Oh, boy.
Rick, would you mind
Sure.
saying a prayer
So
for us, please?
bow our heads together, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for giving us this opportunity and giving us America the opportunity and all of us the opportunity to work together to do what's right in our state. Please keep us healthy, driving back and forth. Keep our families healthy and safe while we're gone, and give us wisdom to do the right thing. In your name, amen.
Thank you, sir. Before we get started, I want to once again thank the committee members for getting up at 8 o'clock all session and showing up here for Ag Committee meeting, and also all of y'all in the audience that get up and get here on time. I appreciate it, and thank you for your interest in what we do. There's one thing that's a special day today. The lady that looks after all the grocery stores in the state has a birthday today, so Kathy, happy birthday. In your notice on the meeting, there were nominations for the Equine Ex Officio Commodity Commission. I'm gonna wait and do it last, cause some of y'all know ain't read it. Y'all can glance over them while we're running over these resolutions. So, Vance, you wanna do 591? Quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. 591, resolution, have a study committee on workforce housing in Georgia. 5 members appointed by the speaker, and he'll choose somebody to chair that committee, no more than 5 meeting days. Come up with some report, if there is a report, with a majority vote of the committee, and submit back to the clerk's office.
Thank you. Last year we had a study committee come through this committee where we had community members that had subject matter expertise. Would you be open to adding a few members to this that were community members?
I'll be interested in looking at that. I wasn't here last year, so I don't know about that study committee.
Oh, we just the reference for the other members of the committee. We had the study committee on revitalizing state farmers market. I served on that as one of the members appointed by the speaker. But we also had some folks who, for example, had worked in there as that was their environment. That's what they were familiar with, how the market worked, and they added a lot of value to the committee's work. To that, I would suggest that we amend the membership here to include some folks who have had experience with the subject matter. And I have some ideas around that if you're open to it.
I would, and I think having done one years ago on transportation when we travel the state, we actually had people that had expertise to come speak at the meetings, and had some great public meetings on transportation around the state. So that was kind of the mindset. But yeah, we'll take everything will be under consideration. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? I would say that if y'all travel around and I know most of this is federal rules, but, dealing with H2A housing, some of that stuff is a little bit stupid that they make farmers do. And, I know we don't have a whole lot of say-so over some of that, but, maybe get a farmer that has had to move a bathroom a few feet because some rule said it had to be within 60 feet, and he might have been 61 feet, you know, away from the, you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? And that's as much workforce housing,
Right.
in my opinion, as anything else.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
John,
Proper time, I'd like to make a motion.
man, it'd be a good time.
Do pass.
Second.
Okay, go. Go ahead.
I'd like to, on lines 21 through 23, I'd like to offer this amendment. Members and officers, the committee shall be composed of 9 members, which would, 5 members of the House of Representatives to be appointed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives. 2 citizens who have served on a local government planning and zoning commission or historic preservation commission, 1 elected county official, and 1 elected municipal official. And the speaker shall designate a House member of the committee as chairperson.
Are you making that a motion?
I would like to make a motion to amend with that. I have, for alleged counsel to make their life easy, I can provide what I have in writing.
Do y'all understand what Scott's saying? Is there a
This would
second?
effectively add 4 additional members, 2 who have served in historic commissions or local government planning and zoning, 1 elected county commissioner, 1 elected local municipal official.
All right, who's number 6?
That would be Mr. Chairman. I'd like to get the authors, if that would be appropriate, to get his take on this particular amendment. Since you have spent a lot of time on it, and I appreciate Representative Turner, but Representative Smith, I would like to hear you chime in on this before we vote on it.
Well, of course, I'll go with the will of the committee. I don't know what the limit should be, 5, 9, 12, 15, how big do we get? If we travel around the state, I'm just trying to think out loud because this is the first time I've heard it. If we travel around, hopefully everybody will be able to go to the 4 or 5 meetings that we have. I think input by everybody is good. That's what we're after is input and to see where to go. So I'll go with the will of the committee.
Dominic, are you for?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Just because this is kind of quick thinking this through, but what we do as a House of Representatives and appoint study committees is our part of what we do as members. And I know that the Speaker tries to do a good job of getting a diverse group of members to sit on that would be able to bring different perspectives. Now, what these local governments, you'll hear local control in here sometimes until you just want to jump off of that balcony out there. But they have an opportunity to be here this morning, but they'll send representatives to speak for them. If they want to come to these committees where these study committees are meeting, it's open to the public. They're welcome to come. It's frustrating sometimes that you would have to put them on a committee to get them to show up. But I think as far as our responsibility, we put 5 members on the study committee, let them study it. If you want to come, you sign the sheet, you speak your mind, and we'll hear you. I'd like to see it stay to 5 if it's the will of the committee, but anybody's welcome to come, whether you're on a council, whether you're in zoning, or whatever it is. Thank you,
Answer
Mr.
that,
Chairman.
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. I'll just point out that the study committee on the state farmers market last year had 9 members. 5 of those were House members. 4 of them were expertise-based members that were appointed by the Speaker. So it's not without precedent that this committee would appoint subject matter experts that are not legislators. I'll also point out that by saying that there would be 9 members, 4 from the community, there would still be 5 House members. So that balance would still be in favor of the elected legislators. And so I would just point that out. Something like this, I think, there would be value in actually having a set collection of subject matter experts on the committee to make those recommendations. I know I found it valuable to hear those opinions in the study committee that I served on. Thank you.
Mr. Doolin?
You know, I like your idea, Vance, and I think sometimes we can have too many members on committee to get a lot done. And also, sometimes we lose sight of the fact that these study committees have fiscal notes. And when you start traveling from 5 to 9 people around the state, does it get expensive? Well, it just costs more. And also, when you're in those different communities, you're going to have, it'll be easier to get those local folks to come and speak. And I think your idea of 5, in my opinion, would work well.
Thank you.
All right, we got Scott's motion on the floor and need a second if we're gonna do anything.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adding 4 that are not, House members?
Can I make a comment before you do that, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
If we want expert witnesses on that, something to think about would be home builders. They got pretty much expertise in what they build, so that's just a thought.
I'd be willing to if it would earn your support, I'd be willing to remove one of the zoning in order to keep it to the precedent of 9 this committee has set before. Remove one of the zoning and planning commission and substitute a builder there, if it would earn your support for that.
Well, I just make the comments. I'll let the committee decide. I offered the 5, and I'm gonna let y'all decide on the other.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good Lord, how in the world we gonna count? Everybody that's in favor, raise your hand. And somebody else count, 'cause I can't turn my head. All right, all opposed to the amendment?
6.
Okay, thank you. I will say this, and those of us that's on the Rural Development Council, it's made up strictly of House members, but we have heard from everybody in the world when we have meetings, and Chairman Watson in England and Powell will make sure that whatever community we are in, we hear from those people, and there has been input into Rural Development Council, and you see some of the good things that has happened to come out of that. So it's not that we don't take testimony and consideration from experts in the field. So there's a motion on the floor and a second to do pass. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Two noes, is that right? Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Vance. All right, HR 586, Representative Gordon. How's things in Savannah?
Doing good, Mr. Chairman. How's everybody? Thank y'all for having me.
Yes, sir.
You know, in 12 years, this is my first time having a bill in front of your committee. And considering I think I gained 3 pounds every year I've been here due to Georgia's fine food, little ironic. Anyway, thank you for having me. Okay, so this is a study committee, committee members and Mr. Chairman. Basically, you know, the area that I represent, Savannah, has a huge amount of folks that would love to dabble or pursue agriculture as a career. whether it's from entrepreneurship or employment, including a lot of veterans that come from Fort Stewart or Hunter Army Airfield. Unfortunately, the way the microloans and guarantees and incentives that the federal government has, and even some that the state has, does not really apply to areas that are outside of what USDA considers the rural hospice. So basically, this study committee would just be an opportunity to kind of look at if there was opportunities for urban farming around the state in non-rural areas. What could be done or created to kind of incentivize those lots or warehouses that could grow crops and vegetables and herbs and spices and those kind of things. And that's really it. I'd be open for any suggestions or opinions that the committee may have, because I know that the expertise lies in here. But that's really the gist of HR 586, Mr. Chairman. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed here on lines 4 and 5, it starts out innocent enough, I guess, with a variety of barriers, but it specifically lists including nuisance laws and local zoning regulations. I know that we have a bill up here right now. I think they refer to it as the Right to Farm Act, or that's taking on some challenges we've seen around the country and in other states in regards to nuisance laws, and it's a little scary to folks like me that's from rural parts of the state that's primarily agriculture and the economy depends on it. I just worry that when we start looking at some of these nuisance laws as it relates to agriculture, that there couldn't be a greater nuisance on the planet than not having anything to eat. And so could you elaborate on what laws you want to look at right there in regards to nuisance, or maybe what some concerns are?
Sure. And Representative, I think that's a great question. When I sat down with Lead Council, we had a conversation about what some of the barriers, for someone who may be in the inner city and have a warehouse that they might want to grow, or a vacant lot that isn't used, or for whatever reasons, based on left or right of ways, isn't sufficient enough to construct a commercial building or a residential home, rental or for sale property, but could be used to farm, basically. And there may be certain zoning issues that might preempt that. And so, again, whether the study committee presents any legislation or not, I think is at the will of the committee if it passes and goes on to the floor. But I think it's just an opportunity to kind of take a look at what those laws are from a county by county basis. If people want to testify because they've kind of entered some barriers, or anything that might be statewide that would preempt that. But to go back to your other question, I don't think anybody or any intent that I have is to take away from the biggest economic opportunity the state of Georgia has outside of its people is agriculture. If anything, we're trying to improve upon it.
Amen.
So you are looking at more so maybe doing away with nuisance laws, like if a guy's got chickens in a certain area or something other.
Grow lights.
Well, yeah. Either way,
Mr.
but
Chairman,
you're looking at more like community garden type things, and
yeah, what I visualize are folks that may want to come together as a neighborhood and do a community garden, but for whatever reason, they're being, preempted from doing so based on zoning or nuisance laws. I'm looking at, veterans who may have done 20, 30 years and may want to purchase a warehouse and do some kale or basil and need some sort of economic support to kind of jumpstart that entrepreneurship, and, anybody that may fall in the middle.
all right, number 6.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to place you on notice at the proper time. I'd like to offer an amendment to the makeup of this board.
Okay.
So,
Okay, hang on a minute. 10, is that you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question, are other states doing this or have done something to address this? And if so,
This would, you know,
which
that's-
states? And
Great question. And I think this would make Georgia kind of at the top of being a forerunner or looking at this kind of research or community involvement and engagement as it relates to urban farming. So, you know, I think it would kind of make Georgia a forerunner. To the best of my knowledge, I can't go on record and say that other states aren't doing this or proposing different kind of legislation, but to the best of my knowledge.
Is that you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I applaud you for this resolution. My concern would be, and I think at the onset of really sitting down with Georgia Department of Agriculture and USDA to see that there are a vast number of resources out there, I think, that are available and people are utilizing for what I consider urban agriculture. And I think it would be worth possibly before we do this to really sit down and have that kind of conversation. I know of some folks around the state that are doing some pretty innovative things when it comes to growing very similar gardens to what you're talking about here. So I think it may be worth having that conversation with the Department of Ag and USDA so that we get our ducks in a row. Now, it probably wouldn't focus as much on the nuisance laws and local zoning as you might like, but I think in terms of providing resources and looking to see what's out there, it might be worth having that conversation before we do something along this nature.
Well, I think that's a great point, and I appreciate the verbiage on the comments. I also think that it would be a great opportunity to have those representatives on the study committee to kind of, you know, put some input forth. And this was brought to me by folks in my district who have an interest in wanting to venture out from an entrepreneurship standpoint and take on urban agriculture, but have not been able to find vehicles because based on where they may own a warehouse or a piece of land is not. It doesn't fit USDA standards as rural to qualify for a lot of those funds or backing. So I applaud your comments, and I think that those people should be added to the study committee to make it more worthwhile for the citizens of Georgia.
That it, too?
Yes.
Matthew don't have a button, but he would.
but I can be loud, Mr. Chairman. My comment is similar to the last one that was made. I wonder, we have the commissioner here with us this morning, and he's going to hate me for putting him on the spot, but I wonder if he might speak to the resolution, and maybe any current programs the department is doing, or any current findings they might have.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, we're gonna talk after. No. Mr. Chairman, I would let me speak to maybe a couple of things in this area, but it is your body's. The department, no, I don't have an opinion about whether you pass or don't pass the representative's resolution. I don't. That's y'all's business. It's not my. I will tell you, whether you have it or not, we'll work with you, and there's a lot we can do whether you have a committee or not, and particularly. Representative Gilliard and we've been working together on a couple of things, particularly in Savannah. At the Savannah State Farmers Market, there will be a community garden go in on State Farmers Market property this fall. That's going to have that Garden City community really come together and make some pretty good progress there. Reinvest in their lives a little bit in the state property. We've got another 5 acres right next to the State Farmers Market in Savannah that I have offered to them to have that as we need to get in and clear it and do it and involve a lot of people from the community. I think it'd be great. We're also in 5 schools in North area where we've already, as an example, we've put together some farmers from Effingham County to actually come in and plow the gardens at 5 schools. And that's just what some of we pointed a little team and just did it. Same thing's going to be going on at the Macon State Farmers Market. There's about 6/10 of an acre that's inside our fence there that could be a community garden. There's a lot of excitement about this kind of it does involve we've got 3 or 4 veterans groups that are actually Georgia Grown members that where we're linking them to resources and things. So I don't we're happy to work with anybody and again I don't want to get in between the resolution. I honestly don't. I imagine what we want to do is help people. However we want to help people, you can count on me. You can count on our department.
Kind of along those same lines that Commissioner was talking about, UGA Extension emailed us yesterday when they saw this, and please include them if we get this thing passed.
Yes, sir.
The head extension lady
Yes, sir.
is real interested in trying to help you
Okay.
if we do this.
Thank you,
and
Mr. Chairman.
have input into it. Rick, it's for you.
Yes, sir. And that's what I was going to follow. If it's a retired county agent, I think that'd be remiss. I think the dean would surely want you to let you know the Urban Ag Center at Griffin that's what they do. And there's the experiment stations and Savannah and Griffin are just directed around urban agriculture and making sure that they meet the needs. And there's all kinds of organizations like the Southern Agriculture Working Group. Gosh, I just listed like a 4 of them right here. They're resources. I mean, you all may not know of them, and that is probably what this would be about, is making sure that you get them in a list,
Sure.
get the people together, that they identify who they are, just to make it a little easier for people to find them and find the resources they need.
Agreed, Mr. Chairman.
6, is it?
Yes, sir. Me and Miss Susan, we're kind of swapping on the mic here. But I did have a question. Mr. Chairman, would it be possible for me to ask a question from a member of the committee that has expertise in this area?
Absolutely.
Chairman Jaspers, with your experience in extension and knowledge in this subject matter, is it your opinion that this committee is a committee that we already have the resources in 2 phone calls to get the answers? Is this committee, and I appreciate the representatives and bringing this bill on behalf of his constituents, but is this a committee that the purpose behind the committee could be answered in 1 visit and 2 phone calls?
I think just add into that, probably the representative sitting down with the extension agent in Savannah and bringing people together in that area. I mean, we would address the needs in Savannah, but I think you're thinking more broader than that. And have a 1-day meeting so that, all these different groups come and share what they do, how they meet the needs of individuals, I just kind of in the middle of both. I think you're trying to make sure everybody knows about them.
Correct.
And I think yours is that, can they do it? Can Rick, if I were a veteran, call the extension agent and get the right people to help me right then? Or they better be able to do that, or we need to bring the dean in here and ring him out. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what I did, but.
Sam, you said.
Yes, sir. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I've got a lot going on this morning. I had to step out, but would our right to farm bill not help with some of this that we've got going? Or I may have missed that. If we were to get that thing passed, we wouldn't have to have this problem, would we?
It would certainly add to the ability of people to do some farming practices in certain areas, or really all over the state, without worrying about nuisances.
Okay.
All right, Dominic?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a comment about the study committees. I think study committees, like on urban farming, do a lot more than just discuss the specific challenges of law. I think study committees are good in bringing awareness to farming and bringing awareness to agriculture. It lets these communities that have the opportunity to come, like I said earlier, and be a part of the process. If you only include it to the Department of Agriculture, which is great, they're always, if it's got the word farming or agriculture in it, Commissioner Black's going to have somebody there. Ag Extension, but when you do a study committee, you have an opportunity for a lot of people. But I did want you to address something. I think this is the first time you've presented a bill that I've been on the committee. We were office mates when I was first elected, and I get calls all the time about this hot rod sports car with a District 163 tag on it. Now, would you tell us a little bit about that car? Because I've called him before, and I said, man, well, what kind of car do you drive? Is it like a Porsche something, or what is it?
It's a black four-door car.
Come on now.
That is fueled with Georgia
Yeah,
gas.
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, you had a motion?
Position will be after the advanced motion in a second.
Okay, all right. Has anybody else got any questions for the author? All right, motion one way or the other would be. Got a motion do pass. Is there a second? Second. Got a motion and a second. Now, I think.
Mr. Chairman, I have a amendment to add to this HR 586 on line 15. As it reads now, the Speaker shall designate the author of this resolution as chairperson of the committee. That's as a general rule or ever not done. So my amendment will be the Speaker shall designate a member of the committee as chairman, striking the author of this resolution and inserting therein a member of the committee. As. That's right. So then it will read with the amendment, the Speaker shall designate a member of the committee as chairperson of the committee.
And I will tell y'all this, normally that's how he does it, but just to keep precedence as to all the rest of the study committee, you making that as a motion?
Yes, sir.
And that's a welcome amendment. Thank you for doing that.
All right. Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. All right. All opposed? All right. There's a motion to do pass on the floor with a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye. All. Are y'all even awake this morning?
I'm sorry.
All in favor of the do pass motion for HR 586, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Y'all want to count, or we can do it? All in favor, raise your hand. Somebody count. Got 6 in favor. All opposed, raise your hand. It better not be 6. 6, 4, and 7 opposed. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It did not pass, but Craig, I will tell you, like what Rick said, and Gary, and UGA Extension, will do whatever they need to do to help you get this.
I appreciate it, and I thank y'all for the dialogue. The effort does not go unnoticed, and I'll continue to do what I can to provide some awareness to the folks who brought this to me. I just thank y'all for your time today.
And I will tell you too, Representative Gilliard is all over the farmer's market in Savannah, so,
Yeah, he has done a fantastic job, and thank y'all for helping him.
well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, one thing we gotta do in even number of years is appoint a ex officio member to the Equine Commission. The one that we appointed, last year has I think what it is his wife is retired and they bought a Winnebago and he stays gone all the time. It's pretty much what it is. So, we ask y'all for some ideas on who, might be good to put on it, and we have to appoint the person that from the north, which is basically above Macon, the Senate does, somebody from the south. So, you have 3 names in front of you, and I hope y'all have kind of looked over what's what. Has anybody got a motion on somebody?
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
You can. You want?
Number 6, yes. Mr. Chairman, I would move that we nominate Kelsey Rayner.
All right, that's the second page.
That's the second page. She's the PATH certified instructor at Chastain Horse Park.
All right, you got a motion and a second. Is there a second? All right, has somebody else got another motion for somebody different? Oh, we gotta put somebody on. And what, let me explain what the ex officio does. The Horse Commission is set up just a little bit different from all the rest of the commissions. The ex officio committee is made up of the Commissioner of Agriculture, the President of Farm Bureau, whoever that may be at a particular time, whoever the Senate appoints from the south, and whoever we appoint from the north. And what their job is, they do not have a vote on any horse commission or equine commission ideas, but they appoint, when the names are submitted to be on the equine commission, the ex officio members decide who is going to be on the equine commission. They don't have a vote other than who they want to appoint to the equine commission. And that's basically the way most of the other commissions work, except we have to appoint our ex officio, and the Senate does, in odd number years, even number years, to the big oversight ex officio committee for all the other commodity commissions. Peanuts are different, and when we did the equine commission, which I think was brought to us by our current governor when he was a senator, is when it was created. That's how it was set up at that particular time. So that's one more job that we have to do to get the equine commission. And they are, I will tell you this, the equine commission is real active. If you will remember, about a month ago, all of those national and world champion young people were up here. That's one thing they sponsor, and I think most of their money, if I'm right, Gary, comes from tag sales, right? It's where they get their operating money, all of it. Okay, not any state money funded into it, right? Who's number 2? Okay.
I was just going to ask, are any of these folks here today?
I don't think so. No, sir. No, sir. Yeah, and we
Mr.
didn't
Chairman.
especially invite them either.
Mr. Chairman.
They, I do think they have been contacted to see if they would be willing to do this. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion if I could be recognized.
well, go ahead.
I'm
you
number
want.
6. I'm on. I just didn't want to do it without your permission. I'd recommend that Mr. Jimmy Kowalski be appointed to this board.
All right, we got a motion and a second for Mr. Kowalski from Turnerville. Is there any discussion on that?
Can we have him bring his family donkey hot lips up here?
Do you have a particular reason for wanting that, or?
I don't even know Bubba, I just want to know, I want to see his.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move on both nominations.
All right. Well, then, all in favor of Mr. Jimmy Kowalski, say aye. Aye. Vote no. And I will say this about Ms. Rayner. What they do with the therapy with horses for kids, with especially kids, is very, very important. And I will also tell you, Matthew, that the chairman of the commission, that's what they do down in southeast Georgia, is therapeutic horse stuff. So, yes, sir. Which one are you for?
For. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just sort of a closing comment and challenge. You know, I'd served with 2 state senators for several years before I got elected, and now in the 5 sessions that I've been here, there hadn't been a year yet that you don't hear, well, they don't understand agriculture in urban and metropolitan areas. They don't understand it. What are we going to do to try to help them to better appreciate what we do in agriculture? My challenge to this committee would be, when we have a representative bring a proposal or bring an idea, that we try to find a way to help them. I'm not saying we're right or wrong today, but I am saying you can't have it both ways. You can't complain that they don't understand agriculture and farming in urban and metropolitan areas and then not be willing to do whatever it takes to help them to bring more awareness and appreciation and understanding to it. So just kind of that moving forward, and I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to reach back out to our friend and see if there's a way that I can help him, and maybe I can learn more about urban and metro agriculture.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Matthew.
Representative, we'd be happy to host you in the city anytime.
Amen. Amen. All right. Thank y'all very much for everything you did all year. See you next year.